Our next speaker is a researcher-musician. He is an associate professor in chemistry, won the Faculty Lecturer of the Year award in 2016, and has also won Spellemannsprisen.
Please welcome Stephen Wilson.
Okay, are we on? Can you hear me? Is it the mic on? Yeah? Wonderful, okay. So I think the picture needs to get on the slideshow, as they call it in Danish. Okay, so just a little bit about me first. I'm an associate professor at the Department of Chemistry. So I work with analytical chemistry, which is basically the science of measuring stuff, like measuring drugs in blood or biomarkers for cancer and stuff like that. So I do a lot of focus on like diagnostics within, for example, brain cancer. And today is the PhD day, and my PhD day was over 10 years ago. So it feels like just a couple years ago, but time really flies by. But anyway, so I work in chemistry, but before I studied chemistry, I studied psychology. But that wasn't really a fit for me. But luckily, I can still work with psychology with psychologists, so I like to combine chemistry and psychology. Looking at neurotransmitters, etc. So another project I have these days, which I'm really excited about, is a so-called convergence environment, which also has a center of excellence status, which is about doing organ on a chip. Is there a pointer here, by the way? Yeah. Cool. So, yeah. Okay. And so basically what this is doing is I'm working with some mad scientists who are making artificial or miniaturized organs or miniaturized versions of tumors, etc. And then we're going to put this on like microfluidic devices so we can like use these devices to like practice on what kind of drugs we're going to be giving to the patients, etc. And that's kind of cool because it will be very good for the like personalized medicine, and it can also have some other neat features like reducing animal experiments, etc., because you can work directly on human tissue instead of animals. But a big feature about this work is that, which kind of lies in the expression of convergence, is that creating new scientists with a unique combination of skills. So, in other words, collaboration, working together with people. That's a big thing for PhDs and also for research in general. So one of the things I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about today was, what does it mean to be a PhD? Wait, what does a PhD mean? Oh, PhD stands for Doctor of Philosophy. And doctor, by the way, means to teach. Did you know that? So it doesn't mean to brag about how great you are on your research. It means to be a teacher. That's the root of that word. But we live in strange times, so what is our role in these strange times? Well, I'm sure ever since we were throwing rocks at each other in the Stone Age, we were talking about how things were just getting worse and worse. But I guess I kind of wanted to first start out with a slide that shows that that's not necessarily the case for everything. I mean, from 1820 to 2015 here, we see a lot of parameters that have really improved in the world. There's no doubt about that. Poverty going down like crazy. People are getting more and more educated. People can read more and more. People are living in societies where they can say what they want and vote for who they want. People are getting vaccinated, and fewer and fewer kids are dying. So the world is definitely moving in many ways in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. However, we still have some challenges, and even challenges that we really maybe shouldn't need to have. For example, cases of measles, which there is a vaccine for, has had dramatic increases in certain regions and parts of the world or neighborhoods. And why is that? Well, I think that an important thing is that there's a lot of misinformation out there. Has anybody heard of this study that shows that intends to show that there's a connection between autism and vaccines? Have you heard of this? Yeah? Did you know that this is the paper that kind of started that thing? Have you seen this paper? This is a paper by a guy named Andrew Wakefield. Published this in a very prestigious medical journal called The Lancet. And he showed that there was this correlation between autism and vaccines. And the whole thing was fake. It was all fake. Fake news, misinformation. But it took years. This was published in 1998, but it took years to get this paper retracted. That means that the journal took it back. And it's been a great source of misinformation, and people are making wrong choices based on false news that's camouflaged as science. And I think that's an important part about what is our role. I mean, how many here are doing or want to take a PhD in the future? Yeah, right. That's a lot of you. And I guess what I want to get at is, what is our role? And I'm saying our role because, I mean, you guys will get a PhD, or start a PhD. I have a PhD. I mean, we're all kind of in the same boat. So it's funny because I Googled, what is our role? What is the role of an educated person? And, you get up some weird things. You get up like the role of education in shaping personality. It's like very kind of introverted ways of thinking. What's this for me? What's in it for me? Me, 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 me. That's kind of the feeling I get looking at Google on this stuff. What's the role of a PhD supervisor? I mean, doesn't Google work like the most common questions or something get pretty high up? So this is kind of what's on people's mind. What's the education going to do for me? And when you Google PhD, it comes up, what's the role of the advisor? And we're going to be talking more about that in the panel later on. I think that it's funny that a lot of the time we're so self-centered about our own problems, and of course we should be. But there are other things. I mean, we live in a society, we live in a world where, we need people who can fight diseases and fight misinformation, etc. And you guys are an important part of that, to keep it real, to tell the truth, and communicate science, and make sure that you're doing it properly. One of the few people I found that had some really good parts to say about this was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He also took a PhD, yeah? And he wrote a college student paper in 1947 about the purpose of education. And he points out here, I mean, you've all heard of Martin Luther King, right? Yeah. What a guy. That, he says that many of the brethren, like the chumps at the universities, think that education should equip them with the proper instruments of exploitation so they can forever trample over the masses. That's a presumption he has that means something that, like, education can be used as almost like a weapon, like a sociological weapon to segregate people who know the rules and who don't know the rules. And that's also a very important part of sociological science, is to sort of to decipher these codes, etc. But that's what he's talking about here. And he says that, education, it shouldn't just be that it's for your own self-worth, but it's also, and not self-serving, but we should also use our education to prepare ourselves from being invaded by legions of half-truths, prejudice, and propaganda. I mean, these types of sentences, it almost looks like a political warfare we're having in this day and age. It's the same stuff going on. Legions of half-truth, prejudice, and propaganda. I mean, could have just as well said fake news there. So education must enable one to weigh evidence, to discern the true from the false, the real from the unreal, and the facts from fiction. I think that's a really important cause to do a PhD at all. Because Dr. King also says that by education which stops with efficiency may prove to be the greatest menace to society. The most dangerous criminal may not be the man gifted with reason, but with no morals, right? So, some crazy guy walking down the street screaming at your dog, he might not be a threat to the world, per se. But the man or the woman who has all the tools but no moral, maybe who is really the opponent of advancement. So I guess Dr. King is reminding us to keep it real, keep focus. Complete education gives one not only the power of concentration, but worthy objectives on which to concentrate. This is society he's talking about here. Not just yourself and your career. This is almost like a crusade, This is a battle for right and wrong, This is what education and knowledge is about. There are a lot of things we can focus on as PhDs. The UN has set up a number of focus areas that I think would be cool for you to look at online. This is like some of the things that science and communities can help with, and that's where the PhDs come in. Poverty, hunger, health, education, gender equality, water, consumption, justice, etc. And if I'm a chemist, right? But just because I'm a chemist doesn't mean that I should only have to look at clean energy or life below water. A chemist, researcher, a professor, or an educated person, or a member of society should also, in my opinion, consider gender equality, education, inequalities. This is kind of our role as people at a university, one of the best universities in the world. It's not just about us, right? This is a big, task we as people who are taking education should have. So with that first part, I just want to say that, we should look also not just beyond our own careers, but also what do we mean as a society? Because we do mean something. Anyway, what's your PhD mean to you? There are some parts. A PhD is a challenge, right? It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be, I cried at least twice during my PhD, right? It's supposed to be hard. It's not a cakewalk. Anybody see what boat this is? It's the Kon-Tiki, right? They take off and they test their hypotheses, right? And you don't know, what's exactly going to lie ahead of you, but it is worth it. It's supposed to be hard. Who's your favorite comic book character? Mine's Batman. PhD is a chance to collaborate. I think it should mean to you that you have a chance to work with your peers and not just rely on what your supervisor says to you. I mean, you should, of course, listen to your supervisor, but try to find peers that will be your super team. I think that's a very important part of what a PhD can mean to you. We'll be getting back to that also with a question A afterwards. It's a chance to spread your wings. I bought one of these just the other day. I'm kidding. It would be cool though. Yeah. Anyway, PhD is a way to, I mean, a PhD is not supposed to be safe. It's not supposed to be like, this, I come to the shop, I open the door, I sell some ice creams, I go home. You're not supposed to know exactly what's ahead of you, It might be in your lab, and maybe you can also get a chance to maybe go to another lab. Maybe in the same university, maybe in another university, maybe another town, maybe another country, right? That's a chance. It's a chance to kind of spread your wings. This is a chance to communicate. You can, already in your PhD, you can make a difference with the work that you do. You can communicate this to people. It doesn't have to necessarily be with like journals, publications. You can write a piece in the paper. You can be, reach out to media. You can write a blog in a field that's not necessarily related to your own specialty, but you should be able to communicate. Get what you want out there. That's a gift we have, especially in a democracy like we have. Perhaps almost mandatory to be able to express our opinions. It's a chance to help others. There will always be people in your lab or in your life that are not getting exactly where you want to be. So why not learn how? I mean, we're all smart. Everybody in this room is smart, right? I mean, there's no like, oh my God, you're so smart factor. I mean, come on, people here are smart. But then you can also be nice. You can be kind. And those types of traits aren't necessarily always related to how, what your logical, spatial sense is. Use your position to help other people. Okay. It's a chance to master adversity. Now, this is a quiz, okay? Do you know who this guy is? Anybody? Muhammad Ali. Okay, does anybody know who this guy is? This is Rocky Marciano. He was the heavyweight champion about in the 50s. Muhammad Ali, is famous all across the world, but he lost a bunch of fights. He got up, though, and he fought on, right? But he's still more known than Rocky Marciano, who won 49 fights and never lost one, okay? But Muhammad Ali's story is one of beating adversity, not only in the ring, but also political and even philosophical, right? So just winning, that is not necessarily the direct path to greatness or whatever. It's okay to lose. I guess I'm kind of running a little short on time. Yeah. No, I'm okay? All right, I'm going to use a few minutes to play a song, okay? Because I want to play a song about adversity, because I think that's a really important thing, because in society and your studies, etc., you will meet on adversity, and it's important that you guys don't back down. Just keep going. Don't give up. I think that's a big part of what your adversity, accomplishing, beating your adversity, and getting to your PhD party. Okay? So I'm just going to take off this. It's an IQ test. All right. Has anybody heard of Tom Petty? All right, good. Won't back down. No, I won't back down. You can stand me up at the gates of hell, but I won't back down. No, I won't back down. No, I'll stand my ground, and I won't turn around. And I keep this world from dragging me around, and I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down. I won't back, hey, baby. There ain't no easy way out. I won't back, hey, I will stand my ground, and I won't back down. Well, I know what's right. I got just one life in a world that keeps on pushing me around, but I'll stand my ground, and I won't back down. I won't back, hey, baby. There ain't no easy way out. I won't back, hey, I stand my ground, and I won't back down. Thank you.
I think we have, yeah. So on behalf of everyone here, I would like to thank you very much for celebrating defeat. That we are, yeah, it's very good to hear. So, and thank you very much for your very nice speech.
And for your after party.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.